Here we are again. Welcome back. Back on the Suffolk. Going to do a bit more on the engine tonight. Valves. Try and get the cylinder head back on. Valve chest, breather, and then valve chest. So yeah, bit to do. We're going to grind the... I've already done the exhaust valve. I've lapped that one in, set the gap. So we're going to do the inlet and make a bit more progress. So since last week, yeah, what have we done? We haven't done a lot, but we've done a few little bits. I'm going to get you a bit closer and then you can see what's been going on. So one of the things I always seem to forget to do, I've got my grommet in the HT lead and swing it round. The starter cup's been blasted and painted. And as I said, the exhaust valve, I've already done that one. That one's been lapped in. And I've set the clearance. The clearance is on the Suffolks. Piston at top dead centre. Exhaust 15. Inlet 7. You can see if I go down a bit, it's quite tight. There's not a lot of room to work in. So we're gonna, as I say, lap the inlet in and set the gap. And with like a lot of these flathead small engines, there's no adjustment screws for setting the gaps. So the gap between the tappet and the valve, for instance, if you need to increase the gap, then what you need to do is, obviously with these, we just take a little bit off the bottom of the valve, grind a bit off. We want a slightly bigger gap. And in the case of you want to reduce it, then either with a valve seat cutter, just cut the seat in a little bit to lower the valve, or if you're lucky enough to have a nice posh valve grinder, you could grind a bit off the valve. But anyway, right, I'm going to prop you up and we're gonna have a go at this valve here. So it's the inlet valve we're on at the moment. Let's get you up a little bit. Hopefully you can see what's going on. There we are. Right. So I think we'll check the gap first. Pop the valve in. And then we're looking for about, it's a loose 6, so it's probably about 7. So luckily with these Suffolks, you've got a nice little cutout, which means you don't have to use one of these valve suckers, which always, it's definitely difficult to get them to stick on these smaller valves. Not so bad on the bigger valves. But anyway, we can use a screwdriver. So what we're going to do first, we are going to get, I've got a little return spring. So we're going to put that on the valve. We're going to put a little bit of valve grinding paste on the seat. Even. Drop it in. And then we're going to just try and seat that down a bit. So see what that's looking like. Right, so as you can see, but I think we've got quite a nice even seat on the valve, and the seat itself looks pretty good as well. So we're going to do the fiddly bit, which is getting the spring, retainer and the little pin that holds it, which I know I'm going to lose. So that's what it will look like when it's all in. And the inlet spring is the lighter out of the two. So let's see if we can get this in. Put a bit of oil on the stem. Right. So if you had a nice little valve spring compressor, you could do this, but the springs are very light, so they don't take a lot of lifting up, but they are quite fiddly. So this is the bit. The pin's going to go flying across the workshop, and then I've got to start looking for a second-hand one. I'm going to zoom you in a bit, and hopefully you can see what we're on. So we've got got it in without losing it. I'm quite pleased about that. Right, so we check the gap. Yeah, just pinching. So that was 6. And let's have a look for a 15. Got 14 there, so let's see how we get on with that on the exhaust. Yep. Go back to top dead centre. Yep. Use 14. Right, so valve's done. So the next little job is the breather. Now, it is a very important little thing, the breather, on any engine. So let's lay it out and have a look. So let's lay it out. So let's have a look. So that's the breather. Got a spring cap, the holder, and the little black valve that looks like tiddlywinks. So we need to get that the right order, and that goes, let's see if we can get you around there. So between the two valves, you can probably just see that there's a hole. So that's where that part locates. So I'll put the breather together, and then I'll pop it in. So let's have a look. So the breather, so what we've got first is the little bit that looks like a tiddlywinks. That goes in like that. Little top hat to stop it coming out. And then we've got the spring that holds it all in there. So we'll put that part in first. That's the order it goes in. I'll zoom you in a bit, then you can see. And then I'm going to try and get the spring in without losing the spring. So let's have a go. So the spring is trapped between the stud and the breather itself. Got that in there? Yeah, I think I've got that in there. Yep. So that little part's very important. And then what we've got to finishing that off, we've got a little baffle which goes in. Doesn't matter, doesn't matter which way up it goes. Squash it in a little bit. Let's try it the other way. If it makes any difference. It went in easier anyway. We've got our new gasket. Put a little bit of grease on that. Stick a bit better. And then our valve chest. We've got our thick washer, a nut, do that up. And then if you have a look at the little valve chest, there's a little vent. Don't think it really matters whether it comes out the left or right, but most of the time they seem to be on the left hand side. So we're going to get the cylinder head back on. Right, so we've got our new gasket. Doesn't matter which way. Our cylinder head. And I've got some bolts. Put a little bit of oil on them. Right, if I can find an adapter for my torque wrench, even though I couldn't find anything regarding Suffolk's torque settings, we will torque them down. So if I can find an adapter socket that's going to fit, we'll do just that. Got the torque wrench here today, but no adapters, so I think we're going to just do it by hand, and then I will torque them up once I've got an adapter. I've got a 3/8 torque wrench, and I haven't got any 3/8 drive sockets, so I will do that. Right, so let's make sure it still turns over, That's a little governor flap. It's obviously an air vane governor. Got some compression. It's good. So what we need to do next, we need to put the exhaust on. Let's get that on. I'm probably going to get a new exhaust because you can hear the baffles are loose in it. So some of the Briggs and Stratton ones do work, so I'll probably replace that. Right, let's get the carburetor out. So, nice early carburetor. One I got off eBay, and I've since stripped it and cleaned it. And what we need is the manifold. So let's have a look. Yes, I've got the manifold here. So right. So this was the carburetor that came off it originally, and I got it, which is the later Zenith with the feed in like that. The correct one is with the banjo feed on it. Nice to have it right. Nice to get the cowling on tonight and make a bit of progress. That's our manifold. So I think what we might do, because they do suffer, these manifolds, they do seem to distort a bit. So we'll just see what sort of how flat that is. You can feel that one's. But if we put a, let's put a rule on and see what it's like. Let's have a look. So let's see what that's like. So you can see that. Let's have a look. It is out. So I think probably there's really no point me putting that on there till we've done something with that. No. Right. we're going to gain nothing by putting that on there. So I think we're gonna knock the video on the head, and I'm going to get that refaced, and hopefully we can finish that off. So I've just refaced the manifold. I've just done it on a flat surface and a bit of sandpaper, and it's not precision, but it's pretty good, I think. Certainly a lot better than it was, so I think that's going to be okay. So the only thing I haven't got a new manifold gasket. Luckily these old ones are quite sort of chunky gaskets, so I think we're going to reuse those. So we'll get this manifold back on. Be nice to make a bit of progress on this today, because it's well, these things do, don't they? They always take longer than what you think, don't they? You sort of set a sort of time when you think you're going to do something, and inevitably they always take longer, don't they? There's always a few little problems along the way. But anyway, it's supposed to be enjoyable. It's a hobby, and yeah, there's no real rush, is there? It will get done when it gets done. But it is nice to make progress. So these are quite fiddly, these. But we're getting there. Later Suffolks, they had screwdriver slotted screws, which do make it a little bit easier. But we like to struggle, don't we? Right, so we want our carburetor. Again, that's got a nice chunky gasket on there, so I'm just going to hopefully reuse it. That seems to be quite flat, so let's stick that on. Those mounting screws, even on the early ones like this, are slotted. It does make it easier. My nice early carburetor, the banjo feed on it. I haven't done the air filter yet. That's going to be something I've got to clean up and get ready. So what have we got? We've got our little throttle lever, and obviously our throttle cable is going to go through there, return spring, and then we're going to fit up the linkage. So get that one started. Really, I should have connected the linkage up. This is an air vane governor. It's a very simple system. They still use, or still did use, air vane governors on some of the Briggs and Strattons up until recently. Obviously the flywheel and the action and the air from the flywheel governs a little flap. Very simple. So what we have with that is, obviously this is connected to the throttle shaft, and that is the link. There's a little eye there, and there's a spring that will go from there to the throttle arm. So we pop it into there. really I should have really connected this up just before I put the carburetor on, but I think you can just wiggle them in a bit. There we are. There we are. So that's working nice and free. Looking good. So we've got our spring. So one end in the little eye, and then the other end in our throttle arm. So when that's like that, it's there, it's put on it. That looks good. Right, so now we can get the cowling on. Have a look. So on these early ones like this, only got 2 screws, one on the front, well, that's the back, one on the back and one on the front there. Good. I should have some fuel pipe there. It's new. It's been hanging around for a while. It looks a bit blotchy, but it's going to be okay, I think. Come back to length, I think. What do we want? Some side cutters. Like that. Give ourselves plenty. Good. Right, so I can't do anything with the air filter because I've still got to clean that up and paint it up, make it look the part. So the next bit is this bit of cooling tinware that quite often gets lost. Because it's mounted to the cylinder head, when you tighten them up and the vibration, that's the only bit that holds it on. Quite often with these, you get these and they're missing. And I think that's probably why they suffer a little bit of overheating problems, and you tend to find the cylinder heads can be a bit distorted. But one of my subscribers did say, you can see what happens as you tighten it up, it sort of screws the mounting round a bit. So he said, try a bit of grease. So we're going to do just that. So it mounts on that one there, and it sort of tucks in the back there. We're going to try a little bit of grease and then just see if we don't damage it any more than we need to. So let's see what happens. So I think the idea is probably put a bit of grease, I'm guessing sort of on the top and bottom. And it will just allow it to pivot a bit is probably what we want. And we'll tighten it up. Do the job. I'm going to torque the head bolts down. I didn't do that, so that's a little job I am going to do. Yeah. Nearly square. Let's stick that on. So next thing, yeah, clutch. So we've got a Woodruff key to go on the crankshaft. goes in there. So that's our Woodruff key into our slot. And then our clutch. Obviously line it up. I serviced the clutch, took it all apart, pins cleaned up and greased them a little bit so the clutch is all working nicely. So we've just got to tap that on there. Out comes the rubber hammer again. So what I think I'm going to do, I'm going to leave the clutch loose till I put it on the machine, and then obviously if I need to adjust it, because obviously we've got the drum that goes on there, we can adjust this once it's bolted on the machine. We can set it where we want, get the clearance right, and then hopefully I don't forget to do that pinch bolt up, which is most important. So yeah, I don't think there's too much more I can do to it till the next video. I need to make a bit of progress on a few other things. Right. So there we go. So trying to do it steady like. Good. Well, there we go. Again, I think quite a successful evening. We've got quite a bit done. It's starting to take shape. It's looking more like an early Suffolk. So yeah. Anyway, I hope this video was useful to you, and hopefully you enjoyed it as well. I'm certainly enjoying it. My Suffolk experience. So we are getting there. We're getting there. We're getting there. Anyway, thank you for watching, and not quite sure what part the next will be. There's whether we put the engine on, the sprockets probably, and then I've got some rollers to turn up. So there's still a fair bit to do, but it's coming along. Anyway, thanks again for watching, and I will see you on the next video. Bye for now.